me open my sermon by bringing you greetings from my place of shelter to yours. I am grateful for the gift of technology, which allows us to be together as a worshiping community, even when we are keeping social distance and following the best advice that science has to offer. And it is important for us to be following the advice of scientists right now. I know there are some who would rather not pay attention to what medical health experts are saying right now, who believe that we can forget about the coronavirus come Easter Sunday, but I don't travel in their company. I'm all for doing what it takes to keep us healthy and to keep the hospitals from being overwhelmed. And what that means for us right now is that we have to be taking the advice of the scientists among us. We have to be sheltering in place. Which makes this morning's sermon a little strange. You see, I am preaching on the story of Jesus turning water into wine. It is one of the least scientific stories in the New Testament. Of course, there are no scientifically plausible miracles. If a miracle could be explained scientifically, it might not be a miracle. But even among the miracles, the transformation of water into wine is sort of extreme. So it might be worth asking why I am preaching on a miracle in a time when scientific thinking is so important. And the answer is that I don't happen to think the actual transformation of water into wine is what's important in this morning's lesson from the Gospel according to John. In the story, Jesus and his friends go to a wedding, and while they're at the wedding, the wine runs out, and Jesus' mom convinces her reluctant son to do a miracle and to make more wine. And for a lot of people who read this passage, the miracle is the point. The miracle proves Jesus' divinity. After all, only God dwelling with us, only a divine Messiah could do such a thing. Well, I'm not so sure I agree with that assessment. I think Jesus' ability to change water into wine doesn't really change much about who Jesus was and who Jesus is. And I know it wouldn't change who I am if I could turn water into wine. If I could turn water into wine, let's test this. If I could turn water into wine, that would make me a good winemaker. In fact, it would make me a pretty good winemaker. The wine from the wedding at Cana has to be primarily a metaphor. The great Presbyterian writer Frederick Buechner once observed that unfermented grape juice is a bland and pleasant drink, especially on a warm afternoon mixed half and half with ginger ale. It is a ghastly symbol of the lifeblood of Jesus Christ, especially when served in individual antiseptic thimble-sized glasses. Wine is booze, which means it is dangerous and drunk-making. It makes the mild, brave, and reserved amorous. It loosens the tongue and breaks the ice, especially when served in a loving cup. It kills germs. As symbols go, it is a rather splendid one. Well, that's what Buechner has to say. But even if this miracle is proof of Jesus' divinity, it doesn't really matter unless we are touched by the transformative power of God, unless we are changed, unless that which is water, which is ordinary and merely sustains life, becomes that which is wonderful and intoxicating and brings us joy. So 3 cheers for religious metaphors, especially religious metaphors involving wine. I'm preaching in my kitchen because when we are sheltering in place, it's easy to get bogged down by what is ordinary and boring. Being stuck in our houses means that we have to face our homes. We cannot escape the pile of laundry that needs folding. We cannot avoid cooking by going out. We have to wash those dishes eventually. It can get tedious really quick. But what if we tried to go about our sequestered lives with a Christ-like attitude that can turn water into wine, such that ordinary tasks become divine? What if we made our kitchens sacred spaces so that instead of cooking food, we were creating expressions of love for whoever eats what we cook, ourselves or our spouses or our housemates or our children? What if we could transform even the simplest of dishes into a loving banquet? That would be like turning water into wine. What if we were able to rejoice in the flavors of even the most basic meal? That would be like getting Chateauneuf de Pape from the kitchen sink. What if we were to fold laundry and sweep the floor and tidy up the bedroom, all of that ordinary housework that is inescapable these days? What if we were to do those things not out of obligation, but out of love? Would not that be like Jesus preserving the joy in a wedding feast? If the story of the wedding at Cana is only a story about something incredible that happened 1,990 years ago in the Galilee, then I'm not sure how it makes any difference. But if the transformative power of holy love is still among us, still changing water into wine, still making the ordinary divine, now that's something else. If God is still among us and still working miracles of transformation, then that's a reason to rejoice. That's a reason to invite the Spirit into each of our kitchens and each of our homes so that the ordinary tasks become gifts of grace and offerings of hope. I think you could argue convincingly that we live in a world that needs water more than it needs wine right now. Our public health depends upon having leaders who will rely upon science instead of wishful thinking. But for you and me, and for the sake of those who may live with us, dearly beloved, we need a miracle or two. We need transformation. We need ordinary water to become wine so that we can get through these days of social isolation with grace and good humor. We need to do more than just get by. We need to thrive. So as you begin your second week of sheltering in place, look for the God who dances in your living room and creates in your kitchen, and do the work that God is calling you to do. Cook your meals as an offering of love. Do your housework as a gift of kindness. Whether you're living alone or sharing your home with family, be in your house graciously. May water become wine, and may you be a blessing, and may you be blessed, even as you shelter in place. You know, this is pretty good. I wonder if we could get Jeff up at the farmstead to sell this for us.